right, so we're digging in. Before we get into the photography, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you based and how did you first find your way behind a camera?
Yeah, I'm in Royse City, and I started off really for fun many, many years ago, as most photographers do. I have had horses and animals, and I'm obsessed with my dog. So it all started with taking photos of like the horses and the animals and stuff. And so it just slowly with friends, and then got word of mouth, and then I turned it into an LLC. I was like, well, if I'm going to do this and start charging people, then I need to actually be a little bit more legit. So then I turned into LLC. It's going to be a year in September. Next month will be 1 year. And it kind of just, once I told my close friends that I'm a business, I'm ready to start taking photos of people, then it kind of took off from there. And I love Western, so the whole Western side and the animals, I still do that very much for fun and just to keep my creative flow going.
Sure. Well, and I know you're very serious about it. Like I said, what caught my eye initially when you walked by at the Wolfe City Rodeo was that huge lens that was attached to the front of your camera. I said, "Goodness, she means business."
Yeah, and so when I heard your comment, I just get excited because that was kind of my first breaking it in that new lens. It's pretty new in the Sony world, and that lens is kind of like it's pretty fancy. So when I just get geeked out, sometimes someone comments, I'm just like, yeah, this is the new one I just got. So that's what caught my
I
ear.
tried to explain to those that were sitting near me that it was that's a pricey one. My dad was with us that night, and he has always been into amateur photography and had a Nikon back whenever I was a kid, like the old, with the film, and so whenever we see cameras out in the wild, we're always like, oh look, somebody's doing that. But she seems to be very serious about it. That's what we decided.
It's
Yeah.
funny you mentioned the film because I originally wanted to do I just also love analog and just that film stuff. So I have this old Super 8 video camera that I wanted to test out in the rodeo. And I just didn't get to it. It did start a little bit late. And then I had this new lens. I'm like, I have so many things that I just want to test. And so went back the next day, and I got there again a little bit too late for the sunset was coming down a little bit fast. But eventually I'm going to start using the film too at the rodeos.
That'll be really neat. So you describe Western photography as a particular interest. What draws you to that world in the first place?
I think mostly how like rustic it is, and but what I mean by that is I like taking the actual pictures and the actual action of it,
Hmm.
but what's for me part of the creative flow and a little bit more fun, I guess, and sometimes frustrating is the editing portion. And so what I love about Western side is that you make it more like rough, or for me anyways, what I like is I like that more like rough feel, that more texture. When I take photos of like the more romantic or pretty pictures, like portraits for clients, I try to soften it up, and it needs to be like pretty. That's what people want to see. They want a picture of their face pretty. And when I do Western, and like when I was editing some of the pictures from the Wolf City Rodeo, um, I point out like that one thing I like, whether it's like the bit or a specific person or whatever they're wearing, then I can like really highlight the texture and the accents. There's this one guy who was hanging out, and I was like, I'm gonna take a picture of y'all. He was there with one of the breakaway ropers.
Hmm.
And his hand was dangling. He's like, "Oh wait, no, my hand is dirty." And when I saw it, it really was where he had just gone off work. It had like oil or whatever. And I was like, "No, it's perfect. That's exactly what I want. Like, I want to see the real, kind of like that analog feel and the dirt and the texture. That's what got me into like Western
Well,
Western
and
side.
sure, it's something that you can really highlight inside the image, and I guess that's another way to answer a question that I had about what in the context of Western photography belongs inside the frame. But as you describe it, it's the dirt, it's the grit, it's the rougher edges, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's the rougher edges, and it's just what's kind of the real side of things. I got some photos of some of the people like praying at the beginning, or putting their heads down, and some of the kind of nervous faces. Or there's this one gentleman. I don't know if you noticed. I took like a million pictures of him from all the angles, but he was just watching over the breakaway calves, and so he was a great model. And all he was doing was just sitting there,
Right,
but
right, right. But that's exactly it, is you're capturing what's happening, at the time in real time. So
Yeah.
we met while you're photographing the rodeo, and I learned afterward that that was your first rodeo to shoot. But you kind of already have this body of Western work at your website, which is shalimarphotography.com. Um, what's it like taking the eye that you developed for Western photography and apply it to something that's as fast moving as a rodeo?
Oh, it was fun because yeah, the it was definitely a challenge, the new lighting, the fastness of it, the quickness of how everything goes. I wanted to dig at more of like what you what the average photographer, I mean, I don't know what they do, but I wanted to get more of the details and I'm more detail oriented. So I was moving around and when I spoke to y'all, I was I think walking across the stands, right? So
Yes.
I like to not stay in one place, move around, get some from the back, from the side. And then, of course, that traditional picture that you see a lot of people, which is from the front of whatever the action's coming in. And so I got some of that so I could get my feel in that traditional picture, but I can't stay in one place. That's just
Right.
my personality. I'm like, I gotta be moving around. I don't know if I answered your question. I forgot what your question
Well,
was.
the question is basically how your eye for Western photography is used in the context of the fast-moving rodeo. Whenever for instance, there's a really fantastic shot that you have of a bull that was like turning and like turned toward the camera whenever you took the shot, and like it's clearly in the middle of bucking, and so you had to be right there on that moment in order to be able to capture, just the curve. You talk about curves and lines. I don't know how into photography you want to get, but the point is like it's this really fantastic framing of this really large, kind of obnoxious animal in an obnoxious state, but like the entirety of the shot is really, really pretty. And I thought, something about how you would have an eye out for the sort of Western imagery that you already do, and then being able to place that in the, like I said, the fast moving environment, the sports environment, sports shooting environment that is,
Mhm.
the rodeo arena.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And with my background is like shooting the animals,
mhm,
for fun is that I like to capture muscles or like I kind of already have that experience or like where the sun's hitting or what angle I want to get. And so whenever the bulls are coming out, I just thought about, okay, we're gonna do this the right side of the arena, so then I have to be on the area where like the door I'm gonna be easy access where the door is gonna be. And if I were there for the bronc riding, would have been on the other side. That's the one I missed, so I think I only got one photo, but that was the first event, and I think I was still in the back chatting to people or setting up. I don't know what I was doing.
right. Well, hey, there's obviously this very romanticized image of like the West and Western imagery that we all recognize from movies and advertising and popular culture. When you're photographing the real people who are living some version of that life, how conscious are you of the difference between documenting something authentic and like creating Western imagery? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think so. So I think it kind of blurs because there's, for example, I recently took some photos of a person who's a farrier and he's a horse trainer and he does a little bit of everything. So I asked him like, can I just hang out? And then with a horse training, you have to be serious, but I guess it's part of the lifestyle that it's just you choose it and you do it because you love it. And so even at one point I was like, are you angry? Like, let me get that anger. And he couldn't give it to me. He just simply was like, I can't. Like he's doing what he likes to do and he can't get in that focus because his mind is just focused on something else, which is happy for him. So I do want to get that point though, where I want to get luckily everything so far has been very positive and everyone loves what they're doing. But I personally firsthand know that there is frustrating moments. And typically those frustrating moments, you don't want anybody there. And that's kind of either you have to kind of be there and get that moment. But
Sure.
I definitely love more of that real behind the scenes, like what's actually going on. And I prefer that over posed images over produced images. However, it's easier to get that produced image, what you might want in your head, because you're obviously putting into your head out what you want. But
Right, sure. But
Mhm.
and you have the final edit, so your people are seeing what it is that you want them to see from what it is that you captured, which I think is neat.
Mhm.
What I have a couple of questions as we kind of wrap here, but when somebody sees one of your photographs without knowing anything about the person in it or the situation that's being displayed, what do you hope they come away seeing or feeling?
I hope they either get some type of emotion, like, oh, like if it's something that's serious or someone's angry in the photo, they're like, oh wow, that's angry. Like I want the person that's seeing the photo to feel the emotion of what I'm trying to capture. If it's people that are praying, I hope that brings them peace, or they're like, oh, yep, oh, I need to take a moment to pray as well, or um, if it's cleaning up something or a kid having fun and jumping around, I want them to be like, oh, look, it's a cute kid, and then I put a smile on their face.
I think that's fantastic. So, what's next for Shalimar Photography?
Yeah, so since that was my first rodeo, I have a list of a few more local ones I want to go to just to keep practicing, getting some shots especially because it was after this was very like testing the fields. So now I've gone through it. There's a certain points that I want to get, certain images I want to get, or events that I want to get. So I have a list of a few that I want to get to, as well as dip my foot a little bit more into commercial and branding shoots. Specifically in Western agriculture, stuff like that. And yeah, just try to grow and get my business up and going in this second year of running.
Is it okay to ask? I know that people come into photography a lot of different ways. Are you a classically trained photographer?
No, not at all. I'm self-trained.
Well, no. Because yeah, me too. Like I said, I got into it because I got into it. I studied broadcast, but we didn't spend time on framing and lighting and all of that like photographers do. And so I'm at a university, right? KETR is at a university, and people study this stuff, and apparently there's a lot to it. But at the end of the day, it matters like what's in the image and what makes people feel things whenever they see it. And there are a lot of folks just like us who are sort of self-taught when it comes to pointing the camera. And so I wanted to kind of get some idea. Have you always been into photography, or is it something that you came into later?
Yeah, I've always been into like photography as a whole. So when I was really young, late teens into early adulthood, I did some modeling. And so when I did modeling, I only did that for a little bit. I was in college, so then I focused on that. And then on the side, my mother was a makeup artist as a on the side. So then I eventually got a little technique in on those shoots that she couldn't get to. She would send me, or they'd start hiring me just because I was cheaper and stuff and young. And so I have that background to where it really helps me for portraits or for more of that branding shoot that is produced. I know what the model's been through, and I could kind of explain certain feelings and stuff like that. And so, and then with the makeup, again, just being a detail oriented person, there's something that I don't see, then I'll like correct it, or I'll let them know. A lot of the so I'm beginning, so a lot of the commercial shoots I've done, I've even kind of produced myself. So I'll do the wardrobe, the posing, I'll tell them how to do their hair, their makeup, stuff like that. So that's kind of helped me, I think, a lot. And then in this last year, I've since I've started as a business, I've definitely learned a lot. So I've invested in classes to become more classically trained, to learn about lighting, to learn about other equipment that I hadn't had exposure to yet, especially as I'm getting to that commercial world. I feel like, I mean, there's with technology, it's always learning.
Sure,
So I have to
sure.
kind of reinvest. And if I'm not going to teach myself, then I have to find someone that's going to teach me, find the mentor out there, take some classes, and just learn the equipment so that when I am out in the field, I I know what I'm doing.
Sure. Are there plans for more rodeos or events like them here in Northeast Texas?
Yeah, let's see. So I'm going to be I have plans to go to the Winsboro one, and then the Canton Poor Boy. And I should have started earlier in the season, right in June, July. I'm a little later. So I think those are the last ones that I saw anyways in the radius, this radius that I can fit into my schedule. But I do also want to stick to outdoor rodeos. little bit more and using that natural light rather than the indoor arena one. So those are the two that I have planned.
That's fantastic. Shalimar Diaz De Leon. She's the photographer behind shalimarphotography.com. You can go check out her work. Shalimar, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was great.